Hey again, fellas, and welcome back to With a Y. I'm 25 years old. I'm like pretty dead center in the middle of like Gen Z, where like I don't call myself as a millennial, but I was still like on the internet around the time when the home PC is like a place in the house where you had to take turns with any siblings or your parents to use the computer. It was slowly fading away, and people were starting to get personal phones and laptops just more frequently accessible. I remember in the transition to the early days of like social media and stuff like that, there was this one image that made the rounds. Almost 11 years ago to the day, Tumblr user The Boy in the Trapper Hat posted, "This generation was the first to be raised online." And I found this to be like really inspiring in like the same way I imagine moms find Minions memes to be inspiring and relatable. I'd like to first go through with this meme in its original form and see how each of the sentiments has aged on its own merits, and 10 years after the fact, now that we can actually observe the knock-on effects of everything it implied, the ways it's been contorted and how it got wrong. Google taught me to be curious, which, no, it didn't. It just acted as the most convenient outlet for that curiosity. It didn't teach me anything. It told me how to get instant gratification instead of picking up a book. It has only gotten more efficient at doing that through, like, at one point it was taking excerpts from other articles and putting it directly on the first search page so that you didn't give any traffic to the actual website that information was from. Now they use a Gemini AI summary thing that barely even works half the time. Tumblr taught me to be inspired. I mean, maybe if you have an eating disorder, you can really relate to that one. Thinspo was a plague on that website. I feel like the culture of eating disorders on Tumblr early on for the internet kind of set the standard for how bad shit can get. Even to this day, like, you see people comparing how TikTok encourages EDs today to how Tumblr did back in the day. YouTube taught me to be myself, and I'm gonna be honest, I think this one's kind of true for me specifically. You're supposed to put the U in tube, and I feel like it was my main refuge away from like my very, we'll say, subpar social life, like a 4 out of 10 if we're like talking about how good at it I was. It basically showed me that yes, there is a large amount of people for any niche that you could find yourself interested in. All you have to do is find one creator who talks about a thing you like, and if they have over 100,000 subs, congrats, you now know that there are at least that many people into the same shit as you enough to actually seek it out online. It allowed me to indulge in like COD sniping and pretend I was good at the game when I wasn't, but I just enjoyed the vibes. Vine taught me to laugh. I'm sorry, man. Very few Vines have aged gracefully to this day. DeviantArt taught me to aspire? Fuck no, it did not do that, man. I actually have a great story about this that I might make my own video out of, how basically DeviantArt was my first connection with like a pseudo blockchain crypto coin, a digital currency valued by the people who use it as if it was actually capable of holding monetary value. Also, quick reminder, there was, for real this time, only one more week to get my limited time U2's vinyl figure. U2's was nice enough to give me an extension because I got sick during the launch window, so I just wasn't able to promo it for a week straight. And also so you guys have another chance to cop it if you weren't able to before. If you do, it'd be much appreciated, and I think you'll like a lot of the detailing we did on it. It's much appreciated if you do. Available at that first link in the description. No one was using fucking Blogger, man. Blogger taught me to reach out. Bro, I did not touch that fucking website. I can't believe Blogger is technically still around, man. But nah, I was not touching this shit. The closest thing you have to like blog stuff now is like Tumblr pages. Facebook taught me to make friends. No, it didn't. In fact, it had me make mutuals with people I actively disliked in real life for the sake of appearances. Instagram taught me to share too much and to try and glamorize your life so it creates the perception of you doing really well or doing better than you actually are in life. Whether your life was like, you know, generally in a good spot or you were actually in the throes of depression, you see everybody else supposedly living this glammed up life and, you know, the body standards and all the other shit, like the wealth inspiration. Etsy taught me to be proud. I'm sorry, like, what kid was buying shit off of Etsy before they were out of high school? Is that even allowed, man? Is that legal? And Twitter taught me to listen. Maybe to the screams inside my own head, bro. Twitter teaching me to listen. The idea that Twitter expanded my horizons broadly is hilarious. I definitely came across a bunch of people directly who lived a certain type of life I couldn't relate to, but the medium that I was meeting them through was not at all going to facilitate discussion about the differences in our lives that maybe we could relate to over. The best thing Twitter did was like maybe I made Twitter moots and then we added each other on Discord and became actual friends. If that, very rare. In the the fact that this guy's like, I wouldn't want it any other way. I can think of several things I would have wanted done different if I was growing up on the internet. I don't think I'd want them done different in my life, because I think some of the, stuff I shouldn't have been seeing growing up was kind of what formed me into the thing that I am today, big robot guy. Some of which I've managed to exploit for monetary gain, but much of which is just a draw on my limited energy reserves. Before we get into people speaking on the reality of their lives in these platforms, it should be said that this meme was actually traced Mother 3 fan art. I don't know who this is supposed to be, but that's Lucas! I love Lucas! Sharky19 was the original artist, and it's actually quite good, and I just wanted to make sure they got their name included in here, since my favorite part is you can tell which of these services whoever traced the original artwork used the most, because those were the only ones that got logo representation on the actual fit the character's wearing. A big Tumblr t-shirt and a little YouTube wristband, man. It makes complete sense that a guy from Tumblr made the original image. So you have very cynical versions of this meme where it's basically saying every single one of these companies has an overarching theme and how they affected my life. It was the commodification of every aspect of who I am as a person. Google taught me I'm a product. My data is free reign for everybody else. Tumblr taught me I'm a product. YouTube taught me I'm a product, where the content I watch means that certain things can be marketed to me easier. Vine taught me I'm a product. I'm actually gonna give that one the biggest pass because I'm pretty sure Vine did not have very many ads on it, and that was a big part of why I had to get shut down. This DeviantArt one is killing me. This is the only thing that's different from the I'm a product Comic Sans write-overs. DeviantArt taught me furry porn, which is also a product, man. It still applies. DeviantArt, Blogger, Facebook, Instagram. It was heavy on Facebook and Instagram, man. I feel like in the early 2010s, those two, anything owned by Meta was just putting up Kobe numbers on the board and how much they taught people to dehumanize themselves in order to make more of a profit off of their engagement. Very cool stuff, I gotta say. Okay, the first generation to be raised online, everything gave you cancer except for 4chan, which gave you autism. I'm gonna be honest, man, if you were on 4chan, I don't think you got the autism from going there. It's a bit of a cart before the horse thing. You had edits like this where they were just completely nonsensical if you weren't involved with the communities that were spitting these out. Google made you a spider. Facebook taught to wreck ass. Tumblr told you to finger kids. YouTube is Fortnite, that's true. Vine copied YouTube, and then YouTube went on to copy the short form format years after the fact. DeviantArt is a deep autistic pizza. Instagay taught you that leaving your dog in your car in summer was the best idea ever. Twitter said to kill Roseanne and James Gunn. 4chan something self-image, blah blah blah. I feel like this is one of the ones with less of like a direct message to say. It's more concerned with being obtuse, which I'm fine with. Like they turned this motherfucker literally into a spider like they said Google did. Even give them the 8 eyes that come with spiders and dumb furry plastered on their chest. I would say this one is relatable to people who grew up on the internet but didn't go too far into the different cesspits that you can fall into. Google taught me to find porn, which yes, the first time many people ever saw tits was it accidentally showing up in Google image results, and I feel like that problem has only gotten worse over the years. Like I remember the first time I saw breasts was like I was looking up Star Wars stuff and then randomly just a painted blue naked lady with only a stormtrooper helmet was on. As I scrolled up and saw it, it jump scared me and I like jumped out of my seat. I was actually scared of it, bro, just repulsed by breasts. Of course I've gotten over that issue because I'm completely straight and only attracted to breasts and other such womanly features. If YouTube taught me to be a horrible person, that's true. The original thing was it taught you to be yourself, and at my core, I am not a good person. I am an active danger to anybody I'm around, and I'm okay with that. Vine is dead. Vlogger is dead in spirit, but I think it's technically still usable. DeviantArt taught me to find fetish art, and yeah, this website did so much fucking damage to my psyche in middle school. Honestly, I was lucky enough that like any of the fetish adjacent art I saw was like soft core. Definitely fucked up my brain chemistry, but like at least it was all implicit and not explicit. I'm sure that was not the majority of people's experience, and like that is not like a shield that can hold forever. Down the line, you always fall prey to the weirder shit and just being disgusted by seeing it, or depending on who you are, getting scared that you aren't repulsed by it and scared of what that says about you. Etsy taught me to scam others. You gotta hit that wire fraud tutorial by Punchmade Dev. Twitter taught me to be racist. That's probably the biggest message it can ever impart to its users these days. It definitely wasn't as bad as it is now. Back in even 2022, it was like the day Elon bought it, it was a switch for like racism now on. When he made comedy legal, he actually meant saying slurs. Google taught me to delete search history. Tumblr taught me eating disorder, a very common experience there, very tragically so, I think. Vine taught me good things die, which is a surprisingly prescient thing to say in an otherwise kind of shitpost edit of this original meme. DeviantArt taught me furry porn, yada yada, product, hate my hobbies, everybody's awful, you know the deal. Now this one is kind of raw as hell in that I think it cuts a little deeper than any of the ones making jokes about individual platforms. This is like someone's personal analysis of themselves because of them being part of that first generation to be raised online. I developed an addiction to hardcore porn at the age of 12. Due to an adolescence where my best friends were online, I have suffered from a lack of legitimate face-to-face relationships and have trouble making eye contact and reading body language. I am constantly comparing myself and the engagement I get on social media with other people I consider friends or associates and am stressed about it constantly. I have felt increasingly disconnected with reality and feel separate with almost anything in the physical world, including my own form. The computer's ability to simulate all sorts of fantasy separate from the real world has caused me to identify strongly with anthropomorphic animals in fictional universes instead of what actually exists. I definitely had image issues along that line growing up where it's having untreated depression and like my day-to-day social life at school not being great. Yeah, I definitely looked to fictional worlds for escapism, but as I've gotten older, I found that these things can exist in parallel as opposed to using one to escape the other. Like a lot of the same interests I had as a kid that were like my lifelines in the day are now something I can more healthily engage with in moderation today. Like my favorite parts of my day are like going on a walk and listening to a new album, going outside and doing my errands, like literally walking to do them. Being outside is nice, and at night when I can just play video games until I go to bed. By myself, with friends, I can do both of those things in a day and find both of them fulfilling because I understand where the line starts and stops between the two and my actual responsibilities as an adult. Last up, let's do a quick run through of how much I agree with the original sentiments in the unedited meme versus how these services function today. Google taught me to be curious. I mean, it's still the most popular search engine, but like I would look for a different one personally, man. It is just feeding you dog shit these days. Tumblr taught me to be inspired. In a funny kind of twist, Tumblr was considered one of the most cancer places to be on the internet back in the day, mostly because of cringe culture and that sort of thing, but a lot of people have come back to it in their adulthood after a place like Twitter has just gone to shit and find it to be one of the more bearable places to be online. YouTube taught me to be myself. I think there's kind of a feedback loop here where like YouTube is not going to completely replace who you are as a person, but it can, you know, affect the way you think and therefore how you choose to express yourself, become more confident in whatever version that you would become. Having consumed so much YouTube content, it's hard to say, man. I'm not a psychologist. Vine taught me to laugh on occasion, man. I'm gonna be honest, man. It is hard to go back to a place like Vine when like algorithms like TikTok or even like the knockoffs on YouTube or Instagram Reels have much improved on how there was always an end to the Vine scroll if you were trying to get a laugh. DeviantArt's totally in the shitter. They've gone straight for AI art. They have like basically spit in the face of like all the artists who made the platform what it was up to that point. It's dead. Blogger, no one gives a fuck. Facebook taught me to make friends. I actually think it is more Facebook destroys families and friendship. Instagram taught me to share way too much. Etsy taught me to be proud. I'm sorry, I just don't know who was an Etsy seller growing up. Twitter taught me to listen. If you consider fucking Dory era Twitter where it was just like the same 4 big accounts reposting the same memes ad infinitum, yeah, sure. I think that kind of sums up where we are. Maybe in 10 years we can revisit this meme again. Every decade we ask, how's the generation to be first raised online doing now? That's all I got. That kwytebox email is in the description if you guys want to send me any video topics. Anyways, piss off.